Recent changes to Social Security could significantly boost retirement income for millions of public sector workers. If you worked as a teacher, a firefighter, a police officer, or other government employee, these reforms in the Windfall Elimination Provision and the Government Pensions Offset Provision might put thousands of extra dollars in your pocket. I'm Patrice Sikora with Nick Roth of Foster and Motley. Nick, thanks for coming back to talk about a big change in a program that impacts a lot of people. Why don't you give us the basics on this?
Oh, another fun topic for me, Patrice. Surprisingly, though, this is a big simplifier for people. I say that now, maybe I need to knock on wood, but earlier this year, on January 5th, Congress passed a new piece of legislation called the Social Security Fairness Act that removes two previous provisions of Social Security, the Windfall Elimination Provision and the Government Pension Offset that you mentioned earlier.
All right, what did these do?
So, Patrice, some government workers didn't pay into Social Security because their jobs offered a pension. And so many years ago, the government put in provisions to prevent double dipping, where someone would get a government pension and receive Social Security benefits. The government's goal was to stop people from collecting two full retirement incomes when they only potentially paid significantly into one system. So as an example, let's say you worked as a public school teacher for 25 years where you earned a pension but didn't pay into Social Security. But before you were a teacher, you worked in the private sector where you did pay Social Security taxes. Without the Windfall Elimination Provision, you will now receive both your full teacher's pension plus your full earned Social Security benefits. So prior to this law, the WEP reduced Social Security benefits in an attempt to limit people from collecting two full separate retirement benefits.
All right, that sounds like it makes sense. Tell me more because I've got some questions. They're starting to form here, so go ahead.
Well, Patrice, in some cases, these individuals did pay into Social Security and potentially for a long time, and they were receiving less benefits than other individuals who paid the same amount into Social Security due to this offset. It could also be argued that they were actually being penalized for going back to work or working previously in the public sector. In other cases, individuals who have public pensions and were married to somebody who paid into Social Security, they were having their spousal benefits reduced after years of public service. Comparatively, a spouse who never worked a day in their life, which is totally fine, and there's a lot of people in the country where that's the situation they're in, they were still entitled to receive a full spousal Social Security benefit. So it could be argued that people who worked their whole careers were actually being punished by these rules. So it's my opinion that Congress determined, while these provisions sounded really good in theory, there were some issues with them in execution.
And you just answered some of my questions already there. So thank you for that. Who does this really impact now? You mentioned a couple of possible cases, but what types of people will feel the impact of this?
Mostly it's going to be public servants. So think public school teachers, police officers, firefighters. You listed a number of them in your intro, but that's not an exhaustive list. Basically, anyone who's receiving a pension from a government entity and did not pay into Social Security while earning that pension, or is the surviving spouse of an individual who earned a public pension, could all be impacted.
All right. If we did a podcast every time Congress changed something, we'd be talking a lot, the two of us, But keep going because this does impact, millions of people.
I love talking to you, Patrice. Don't get me wrong, but keeping up with Congress would be a whole other animal. But this podcast is important for three particular reasons. One, it directly impacts people's finances. Two, it's a widespread change. The Social Security Administration estimates that it could impact 3 million people across the country. And the third reason is, and most importantly to us, many of our clients are going to be impacted, and we want to make sure that we're keeping them up to date on the important financial things going on in their life.
All right, so let's move forward then. What can people expect to happen here? Are they going to have to make any steps themselves? Will it already be taken care of by Social Security? Please go on.
Yeah, let's jump in. First and foremost, I'd just like to say that the Social Security Administration wasn't given any additional funding to handle all of this additional work that they're going to need to do. So we're unclear on the timeline of when all of this will take place. However, anecdotally, we've heard from some clients that their benefits have already started being corrected.
Hmm.
So our understanding is that this is going to take some time. So if your benefit hasn't changed yet, please don't be concerned, but they are actively working to get these benefits fixed.
Now, this is a retroactive bill too, isn't it?
Yeah, good point, Patrice. This law was passed in January of 2025, but the way it was written is it's retroactive back to January 1st of 2024. So more than a whole year has already passed to when this law actually takes effect. And so the Social Security Administration has to figure out a way to deal with that. They've already announced their plan, which is great transparency for everyone. So as far as we know at the moment, their intention is to correct benefits in two ways. First and foremost, benefits going forward will be adjusted to their new corrected monthly amounts once the reductions related to these two provisions are removed. So going forward, you should receive the correct monthly benefit once they get to your case. Second, to account for the retroactive nature of this bill, affected individuals will also receive a one-time lump sum payment for any benefits they should have received between January 1st, 2024, and whenever their benefits are actually corrected going forward.
But now a lump sum payment to me means taxes.
There will be a tax consequence to this, and we believe that this will all be taxable in the tax year 2025, assuming benefits are all fixed this year.
All right.
Tax on Social Security is generally a cash basis, so that means it's taxed when it's earned, when it's received, not when it's earned.
All right. That could need some additional planning, as you say, really needs to get done here. All right. So people will be getting these benefits, but is there anything that the recipients have to do to make sure they get them?
Great question, Patrice. In some cases, we are going to recommend that people take some action, but the expectation is that most people don't need to do anything. There is one group of people that need to take action, though. If you're over the age of 70 and not currently getting any Social Security benefits, you should apply for benefits right away. This is because the Social Security Administration can only update benefits for people that are already in their system. And because benefits can usually only be claimed going back 6 months, you may already be losing out on benefits that you're entitled to. So, if you're entitled to retroactive benefits, every month you wait could mean more lost benefits. Plus, the worst thing that can happen if you apply for Social Security is that they tell you you're not eligible. So, if you are eligible, acting quickly could mean more money in your pocket.
Were people informed about this well enough, do you think, to it just sounds to me like it's really using the line, it's not fair that if you haven't been in the system and you didn't know you had to file into the system to get the benefits, to not be eligible for, well, to lose out on benefits that were older than 6 months.
Yeah, it is an unfortunate situation that between Congress retroactively applying this law and Social Security's limited ability to adjust, given the lack of funding, there may be people that lose out on benefits due to these changes. But unfortunately, we just have to play with the rules we're given, Patrice.
True, true. Now, you mentioned the age 70. Why is that an impact here?
Great question. Once individuals reach age 70, Social Security does not provide any further increases to benefits. For delaying the collection of your benefit from age 62 to age 70, you are eligible to receive more money each month, and these are called delay credits. However, once age 70 is reached, they don't offer any additional benefits for delaying, so we can confidently say those over age 70 who aren't receiving benefits can't be any worse off for claiming benefits now if they're eligible.
And if you're younger than 70, as you said, get in there, file.
Well, if you're younger than 70, our advice is actually to reach out to your financial advisor and discuss what next steps are. This change can have a meaningful impact on your retirement plans, but most likely in a positive way, and we think it's important for people to understand what that impact is. However, that doesn't actually necessarily mean you'll start claiming benefits because of this change. Some people may choose to do that if they're not age 70, but having a conversation with a trusted advisor is the more prudent approach. This doesn't necessarily mean that if you were delaying previously that you should stop delaying now. So if you're not age 70 yet, you could still receive extra benefits for delaying further.
All right. This is not as simple as it sounds, Nick. Is there something we haven't touched on that you really think we should?
I'd really just like to say that the Social Security Administration has been very good so far about providing updates on their website, which is ssa.gov. This situation is changing and it's being updated regularly. So if you want access to the latest and greatest information, well, I love the Foster and Motley podcast. We are recording this on a date and time. So this information could get stale. I'd encourage individuals to go out to the ssa.gov website for more information. If you aren't finding what you are looking for, the 1-800 or your local Social Security office will certainly be equipped to help with any specific questions you have about your benefit.
And how about the folks at Foster and Motley?
We're happy to talk to anybody that has questions, Patrice. You can reach us at 513-561-6640.
All right, folks, you've been listening to a great episode here on Social Security, the new programs involved. If you have questions about these or any other wealth management topic, check with the folks at Foster and Motley. Be sure to follow this podcast too to know when the next show is ready for you and share with others. We value your time. Thanks for being with us.